This is Mike for Demented Pictures, and welcome to my new show. In this series, I'll be covering a range of top 10s that exclusively cover alternate cinema. To help with the launch of this new series, joining me today is none other than this guy.
What's up, gangsters? That's right, it's this guy from Horrible Reviews. I met Mike through his Demented Pictures channel, you know, where we are right now, and where he does some pretty great stuff. So when he asked me to co-host his video and talk a little bit about the topic he's about to reveal, well, I guess it's also in the title, but yeah, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Today we'll be looking into the dark side of reality and counting down the greatest cannibal movies of all time. Only one entry per franchise. This is the top 10 cannibal movies. It's commonly accepted that the butcher of Plainfield, Ed Gein, a psychopath who accessorized parts of the human body, is considered the genesis of modern horror. In the wake of Ed Gein's trial, the world was exposed to a new kind of monster and inspired many writers and filmmakers. Following the colossal success of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, the real-world monster began a new wave of horror. It was during this time that the cannibals made their first entry into cinema.
And, well, when I personally think of cannibal movies, I usually think of the Italian outings made in the 70s and early 80s. I mean, I feel like that's where and when some of the most infamous entries in the subgenre were made. But don't worry guys, with this list we're going to expand way beyond just those Italian titles. So there might be a few, like, minor spoilers, but we try to not ruin anything for you guys. So you ready, Mike? Let's go!
Number 10. Cannibal Ferox was Umberto Lenzi's attempt to cash in on the popularity of cannibal movies in the early 80s with a surprisingly good execution. Often cited as being overly similar to another Italian cannibal movie and even reusing many of the same actors, Cannibal Ferox still manages to supply enough trash, gore, and nudity to entertain any schlock horror fan.
Exactly. And I personally, I also can't help myself but to always compare this one Cannibal Ferox to that one other Italian cannibal movie. You know, that might make it to this list. Actually, I really recently online I read a discussion where someone asked, you know, which one is better, Cannibal Ferox or, well, obviously the other one is Cannibal Holocaust. And it seemed that most people tend to agree that, you know, Cannibal Holocaust might be the better movie, but Ferox is more entertaining. And, well, I think that's actually a pretty good summary. Cannibal Ferox, definitely one of the more enjoyable out of the Italian cannibal movies.
Number 9. The Green Inferno. Taking its name from the retitled Cannibal Holocaust 2, Eli Roth's love letter to the genre is a movie of two halves. One, a social commentary on deforestation. The second, an all-out bloodbath of savage cannibalism. Delivering a faithful homage to the 80s cannibal genre, The Green Inferno surprised many fans with its practical effects and dark humor.
Although it does have its fair share of haters, I guess. And if you ask me, it probably has to do with the ridiculous anticipation and expectations that this movie built up during its 2 years that it couldn't find any distribution. In the end, now that we finally have the movie, it still has its flaws in my humble opinion. But I do indeed appreciate the dark humor. I mean, this movie is at no point pretending to be more than it actually is. I feel like at its core, it's mostly just having fun with the cannibal genre, most specifically the Italian ones we mentioned earlier. And you know, with that approach, you kind of know what to expect. It's pretty fun.
Number 8. Dumplings. Similar in essence to The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, Dumplings is an expanded story taken from the Three Extremes anthology movie, taking an even more taboo take on the genre by selling aborted fetuses in dumpling form as a means of youthful rejuvenation. Serving as an extreme satire on the desperation for beauty, Dumplings is a twisted and unforgettable watch.
And well, I'm afraid that in this case I'll have to be that one edgy kid that thinks it's a little overrated. I don't know, I feel like this one just suffers from what I like to call the human centipede syndrome, where the idea or the concept itself is the most interesting, or in this case, most gruesome aspect of the movie as a whole. Don't get me wrong though, I mean it's still well made. I definitely like the two leads and, you know, I appreciate the satire. It's just, I feel like the story alone isn't enough to carry a feature-length movie. In that sense, this movie might work better if it was just a short.
Number 7. Ravenous. Set in the mid-1800s and loosely based on the Donner Party incident, Ravenous follows Captain Boyd as his troop are preyed upon by a cannibal predator. Taking a folklore twist on the genre, the character-based movie features standout performances from Guy Pearce and Robert Carlyle, as two men locked in a deadly battle of psyche. Criminally overlooked, Ravenous is a true hidden gem.
And, well, I'll have to agree with that one, as I had not even heard of this movie before working on this video. But now I finally did, and I'm glad because it's pretty great. I like the relatively fresh approach to the cannibal genre. The two leads were indeed pretty outstanding, and the story kept me like guessing or like surprising me throughout. I never really knew where I was going. And well, all of that with its very subtle dark comedy approach, to a degree that I'm not even sure it was like intentional. This is indeed a relatively obscure cannibal movie that is, yeah, worth checking out.
Number 6. Alive. Though not a horror movie in the traditional sense, Alive is the incredible true story of the 72 Uruguayan rugby team whose plane crashed in the Andes Mountains. For 2 months with little food or water, the team were left with no option but to take extreme measures in order for their survival. A harrowing movie made all the more disturbing as it was overseen by an actual survivor.
Yeah, Alive. And, well, I personally wouldn't categorize it as a cannibal movie. The fact that it appears on this list does indicate that perhaps. But, I like this variety. I mean, we can't all just have the Italian cannibal flicks on here. And this movie, it's great. Or perhaps more specifically, the story is great. In fact, it's almost unbelievable. It's truly fascinating, really. Well, because of that, for me personally, the story is the true show stealer in Alive. Especially since, some of the acting and some of the special effects, especially towards the beginning, they're not that great. Still, as a retelling of what happened, and from what I understand, the movie actually follows the true events rather closely. It's definitely worth checking out.
Number 5. Raw. Following vegetarian Justine in her freshman year at veterinary school, through an induction ritual she discovers she has carnivorous cravings. Becoming obsessed with the taste of flesh, she realizes her cravings are much more insidious. A stylish coming-of-age movie with a fresh take on the cannibal genre.
Yeah, I love this one, Raw. For some weird reason, combining the cannibal movie and the coming-of-age movie just works like a charm here. I love the overall look. Like, the movie looks great, like the colors and the lighting, how it's shot. I really like the main girl. There's fantastic practical special effects, and even a good dose of some dark comedy. It's like all of that together, it's a pretty great movie. I feel like the hype running up to its release and the marketing, it was probably all a little misleading, causing a lot of people to be disappointed with the movie. But hey, that's not the movie's fault. The movie is pretty great.
Number 4. Delicatessen. A dark comedy set in a post-apocalyptic future focuses on the tenants of an apartment building served by the titular delicatessen. With food becoming a form of currency, the delicatessen finds a way to feed the inhabitants.
Yes, co-directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who would go on to direct the widely acclaimed Amélie. His, hyper stylized and quirky style of filmmaking is already very prominently present here in this one. To a degree that one could argue that this movie is, style over substance, but even if that were the case, it's still pretty great. For starters, the movie looks amazing. Like, it's a truly like a feast to the eye. Like, the camera work is. But besides that, I still feel like the story is, somewhat original, it's fresh, and, well, besides all of that, it really is just a lot of fun, this movie. That's right, boys and girls, cannibalism, you heard it here first, can be a lot of fun.
Number 3. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Though not exclusively seen as a cannibal movie, it is heavily implied. Again taking inspiration from Ed Gein, Tobe Hooper's seminal movie fully dived into the grisly side of reality and presented an experience never before seen in cinema. Ruthlessly brutal and unashamedly visceral, Texas Chainsaw is considered by many to be the beginning of modern horror.
Oh yeah, it probably should have been even higher up a not exclusively seen as a cannibal movies top list. I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's really like one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It's just, it's just so raw and gritty to a degree that it basically convinced a whole generation of moviegoers that it is like this super graphic and violent, gory horror movie without ever really showing any on-screen blood. I mean, that's when you know you've made a successful horror movie.
Number 2. Cannibal Holocaust. Possibly the most notorious movie ever made, Cannibal Holocaust broke all rules by including real deaths and actual animal slaughter into the picture. Looking beyond the taboos lies an effective social satire that actually reverses the roles of what's considered good and bad. Considered the first major found footage movie, Cannibal Holocaust is recognized as the most iconic movie of the genre.
Cannibal Holocaust. Why is this not number 1 again? I love this movie, and I'm not even afraid to admit it. It might reflect poorly on me as a person, but I don't care. It's truly one of my favorite movies. It was just so groundbreaking, both in narrative, the way it told its story, but also, and definitely when it comes to just pushing the boundaries of on-screen violence. And then, well, me personally as the disturbing movies guy, and trust me, I hated the fact that I just referred to myself as that. But yeah, I personally, I consider it one of the few true contestants for the title of most disturbing movie ever made. Really, you just can't talk cannibal movies without mentioning Cannibal Holocaust. It's literally the godfather, like the Citizen Kane of cannibal movies.
Number 1. Silence of the Lambs. Not only the greatest cannibal movie of all time, but also one of the greatest movies of all time. Adapted from the Thomas Harris novel, The Silence of the Lambs sees Anthony Hopkins as the iconic Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter, as a consultant to find an equally disturbed psychopath. Again partially inspired by Ed Gein, the multi-Oscar winning movie redefined the horror genre and is considered a masterpiece of horror cinema alongside Nosferatu, Psycho, and Halloween. Featuring a powerhouse of actors, near-flawless storyline, and stunning direction and cinematography, The Silence of the Lambs is a phenomenal movie and worthy of the title, the greatest cannibal movie of all time.
Yes, Silence of the Lambs. Is it horror? Is it a thriller? Does that even matter? I mean, in the end, it's just a great movie. Featuring one of the most iconic movie villains ever, portrayed by Hopkins in the performance of a lifetime. Silence of the Lambs truly is just a superbly crafted thriller that, it's kind of just must-see material. Should go there? Well, alright. Yeah. I mean, I personally can always find a few flaws in it, but it ended up on the number 1 spot, so none of that for now. Back to you, Mike.
So there was our list. Were there any we missed? Which cannibal movies do you love the most? Leave a comment below, and a huge thank you to Horrible Reviews for featuring in this episode. Be sure to check out his channel in the link below.
Yes, it's just youtube.com/horrible reviews. I mostly talk about horror and exploitation, cult type of movies, and I mostly just try to have fun with it. I mean, I'm no expert, I just love movies, presumably like you guys do as well. So feel free to join me over there. And then, of course, a huge thank you back to you as well, Mike, for having me. I think we did a pretty good job here.
This is Mike for Demented Pictures. May your movies be bloody and your scares be shitless.